I'm married to a beautiful woman. Her name's Amelia. It turns out her family is really well-to-do off. I mean, they've come up from money, and they're in a very good position, but that has nothing to do with my love for Amelia. But I'll tell you guys right now, my in-laws think differently. They think that I'm no good for their daughter because I am not rich. I'm poor, I'm an orphan. Well, I thought that would be the end of it and they would eventually come around, but guys, this story gets so much worse. And I'll start by telling you one of the biggest things they've done, and you won't believe me. I'm an orphan, but that has not stopped me from getting to the place of success. My story has to do with my relationship with my in-laws. I'm an accountant who used to be a bartender after college, simply because I could not get a job. Since I served drinks at an expensive bar, I knew most of the people who come around just to relax were people who were high up on the ladder of success, or people who were making their way there, so I tried as much as possible to always be friendly and establish a relationship with the customers because I had not gotten close to success ladder yet, much less climbing it. Being an unmarried orphan meant I did not have many responsibilities on my shoulders, as I only had myself to take care of. I continued serving drinks and getting friendly, but there was nothing tangible. Most of the people whom I told about my job situation always promised to get back to me, but they never did. It was while serving drinks that I met my wife, Amelia. Amelia was a product designer, and she was from a well-to-do family, and by well-to-do, I simply mean her family had just enough to supply their needs. She was the first of 3 daughters, and her parents had a strong influence over her and her siblings. They had warned them to never bring a poor suitor home, as if they would not approve of the wedding. Amelia had come with one of her cousins to celebrate her recent freelancing contract, and in my usual manner, I tried relating with her like I did to the customers who came to the bar. She soon became a regular customer at the bar, and I think it was because of me. It wasn't difficult for the both of us to align, as our mentality about life was basically the same. We began dating 3 months after we met, and I made sure she never doubted my intentions. I didn't have parents to bring her to, but I made sure she knew the friends I had. Amelia, on the other hand, did not initially give me the security and assurance which I sought for. She avoided issues that bordered around me knowing her family. I initially thought it was a result of her cousin's influence, and you see, her cousin had not been in support of our relationship. She told Amelia that there was every possibility I could be a part of those handsome guys who had looked to prey on women like her. It turned out, however, that Amelia's reluctance to keep our relationship private was not a result of her cousin's disapproval. It was because of her parents. Even though she was a grown adult, her parents still had a measure of influence over her, and she knew their threat of not approving a marriage to a poor person like me was real. She never told me this until I proposed to her. Her cousin, who still had doubts about me, asked Amelia what she would do. Amelia was not willing to break up with me. She informed her cousin that she planned on getting a secret wedding to me, and breaking the news to her parents afterward, as there would be nothing they could do besides accept the fact that she was now married. Amelia's cousin, who had always been her confidant, broke the bond by informing her parents, who informed Amelia's parents. The result of Amelia's cousin's talk was a drama that almost got me fired from my workplace. Amelia had come to the bar, and she waited till my shift was over so we could spend some time together. We were busy holding hands and flirting together when her parents showed up and gave the both of us the biggest embarrassment of our lives. They created quite the messy scene, and my manager had to ask us to leave the bar so we don't disrupt the comfort of the customers who were there. I never hoped to meet my future in-laws for the first time in such a way. The meeting made me understand why Amelia had suggested a secret wedding, and her father threw some serious threats in my way. I mean, yeah, I get his anger, and I suggested to Amelia we postpone the wedding till there was consent from her parents, but she absolutely refused. She said there was no point trying as she knew her dad. Amelia, who had been freelancing for 2 years since she got out of college, still lived with her parents, but she was tired of the influence they had over her. Although she had agreed to get married to me out of love, it was still her ticket to freedom, which she was not willing to throw away. I love her, but I felt her parents would be more reasonable if I formally visited them and stated my intention towards their daughter. I insisted that I formally visit her parents, as even I would not be happy learning of my daughter's marriage from someone else other than her. I visited Amelia's parents, and I apologized for the secret marriage thing and the fact that they had learned about it the way they did. I went on to say how genuinely in love I was with their daughter. Amelia's father kept quiet for a while, and before starting with how I had disrespected and dishonored them by just trying to run off with Amelia, he noted that they did not believe my intentions were genuine and accused me of trying to prey on their daughter's wealth. I wanted to prove to them that I was not a gold digger, so I suggested to them right there that I was willing to sign a prenuptial agreement that would protect Amelia and whatever wealth she would make in the future. They blatantly refused and asked me to just keep off from their daughter, as I was not the kind of man they envisaged their daughter marrying. I was hurt by the fact that I was not accepted because my pockets were not deep enough. But I was not willing to end my relationship with her because of her parents, who ought to let her live her own life, you know. And so, we came up with a plan. Amelia would act like we had broken up, and we would secretly make our move when the time came. Amelia was on point with her act. Her parents were fooled into believing we had separated for good, and even claimed some rich suitors who were just seeking her hand in marriage. The date we had set for our wedding soon came, and everything was set. We had rented and prepared a 2-bedroom apartment somewhere in the neighborhood where Amelia's family was. We went to Las Vegas, where we had our wedding, and spent a week on vacation. While we were there, Amelia sent photos of our marriage certificate to her family, and we expected that though they won't be happy at the deception, they would accept the reality of things and let us live in peace. Amelia and I got back from our honeymoon, which she mostly funded, but while we were receiving congratulatory messages from friends, I received a lawsuit from her parents. They were suing me for brainwashing, manipulating, and coercing their daughter into marrying me. They claimed I was a fraud who exploited their daughter into marrying me. Amelia and I had expected her family, her parents especially, to put up some form of resentment before going ahead to accept our union, but we never expected them to go this far. We drove down to her parents' home to apologize for the way we had done things and asked they buried the hatchet. I mean, how would it sound in the ears of the public that my in-laws dragged me to court on outrageous charges that could harm my image simply because I had gotten married to their daughter? We got to her family house, and her hostile parents forbid her siblings from coming close to us. Amelia's parents did not attack her the way they attacked me. They called me multiple names, and I was called in the lawsuit that they filed, and even more. One that hurt was when they called me, and I quote, "the one who studied accounting but was not counting." I kept my composure as I expected hostility, but Amelia defended me word for word. She told her parents that we were sorry for what had happened, but we were now a couple and their disapproval would not make a difference in the world. She then went on to ask that they drop the charges as it would not hold water in court, but her parents simply refused. They said we were not a couple and noted that I would pay for brainwashing their daughter into marrying me. Amelia and I left their house while looking forward to hearing in court. Amelia and I never looked forward to it, but the day finally came when we appeared in court. The judge read out the court lawsuit which parents had filed, and they were called to the stand. We watched and heard my in-laws say all manner of things against me. They noted that a man who agrees to secretly get married to a lady more successful than he was definitely has some sort of ulterior motive. I got to it actuality. When viewed from the surface, it would seem like there was an ulterior, but that was not so. I gave my testimony of genuine love for Amelia to the court, but I felt the statement of Amelia's parents invalidated what I had said. It was Amelia's testimony that made the judge throw the case completely out the window. Amelia started from the beginning to narrate to the court about how her father had always controlled her and her siblings, even to the point of asking them not to marry a poor man, and she pointed to her father's greed as being the reason. She went on to say she had gotten married to me out of love, and not coercion as her father had claimed. The case was dismissed, and Amelia's parents were so disappointed. Amelia and I knew very well to keep our distance from her family for a while, and they did not bother to reach out. We, however, welcomed a baby girl about a year later, and decided it would be great if her parents met with their granddaughter. We felt that what time failed to heal, if there was still any grudge left, the presence of their granddaughter would do it, but we were so wrong. We got to the house and her parents looked at us like absolute strangers. They would not even look at their grandbaby. We were snubbed to the point we had to take our leave, and that was when Amelia spoke up and told her to never come back to visit us as she was dead to them. He claimed she was a failure to the family and the money spent on training her was an absolute waste. There was a serious distance between us and our in-laws for the next 3 years. Amelia was hurt by the words her parents had said before disowning her, and she too lived like they were dead to her. Things had gotten a lot better. We were more comfortable, and this was not because we both had a new job. No. Amelia still worked as a freelance product designer while we both had saved up to set a bar for me. The bar gradually became popular within the neighborhood where we lived. It was not fanciful at first, but as time progressed, we made renovations, extensions, and added certain features to it. People could come and host birthday parties and you name it. We had gotten another addition to the family in the form of a boy this time. Everything was okay, and we lived in peace till my in-laws, who were, by the way, dead, showed up. Amelia had gone to the grocery store to get drugs one day, while I was preparing to go oversee things at the bar when my in-laws suddenly appeared in my home. I was still in shock when they let themselves in, and they just straight up acted like nothing was wrong and attempted to play with my kids. I did not throw them out, as I knew that any action I took could ruin the relationship between my wife and me. These were her parents, after all. My kids, who were not used to their faces, ran off to their rooms, and while I was still figuring out how to react, Amelia returned from the grocery store. Amelia did not waste time asking them what they came for, and she just demanded that they leave our home. Her parents were surprisingly not hostile at all. They asked her to keep hostility aside so that they come for peace. Amelia did not bother filtering the harsh words that came out of her mouth. She said that they were dead, and the dead had no business with the living. I wanted to intervene, but I let her deal with the situation however she saw fit. It was okay by me if she just decided to welcome them or not. Amelia threw them out of our home and asked that they go rest in peace and let us be. Amelia and I did not talk about the incident. Days passed by, and her father came to the bar while I was there. He asked for my audience, and though I did not want to give it, I gave him the honor. One he did not deserve. He claimed he was there to bury the hatchet and wanted us to live in peace. He noted they were sorry for the way that they had treated me and Amelia in the past, and claimed they realized their wrongdoing. Hearing my father-in-law apologize softened whatever so was left of my hardened heart towards him, even though I suspected that they were only coming around as things were changing for the good. I promised I was going to talk to Amelia, but I could not guarantee him her forgiveness. He was okay with it, and asked a worker to get him a drink which he wanted to pay for. I told him not to bother, as whatever he took that day was completely on the house. The moment I noted it was on the house, he took more bottles and got drunk. Well, that was a part of my father-in-law I had never seen before. I had one of the workers take him home with my car, and I got home that day and told Amelia what happened, and she was initially bitter. I did not kick her father out of the bar the very moment he walked in. And she was even more pained by the drinks that he had for free. It took me days to get Amelia to consider giving her family another chance. Well, she was initially reluctant, as she knew her parents would never want to make peace if we were not doing. I had to make her see that they were family after all, and Amelia accepted to sit with them and talk, but she told me it would be difficult moving past all that happened to act like things were great. I understand her, and noted that it would be suspicious if she suddenly feigned closeness to them, and I asked her to just forgive them and take her time to heal. We invited Amelia's parents to the house, and Amelia did not bother making preparations. She did not even cook. She said they were coming to make peace and not to eat, and I knew she was talking from a place of hurt. Her parents came, and while apologizing for their actions in the past, said they now realized it was wrong to judge a man based on his present situation and circumstance. Well, the words which they said touched me deeply, and my ego, which they had bruised when they called me, quote, the accountant who can't count, aka was broke, was being massaged, and it made me try pacifying Amelia to give them a second chance. The meeting ended that day with my in-laws insisting me and Amelia came to their house with our children to have lunch last weekend. I think they called it some kind of reunion or something of that sort. We went for lunch and the atmosphere was awkward. Amelia's siblings, were there, but they had a hard time bonding. It had been 3 years since they were estranged from her because of their parents. My father-in-law, who wanted to establish a conversation, said he made his observations about the bar which I ran. He suggested that I included certain games there, which people could gamble on, as this would allow me to make additional profit. I thanked him for the suggestion, but noted that Amelia and I have decided from the beginning to not feature certain things in the business. My focus was just more on Amelia's younger sister. They were of marriageable age, but there was no mention of marriage. Amelia and I got home that day, and she said her sisters were still unmarried because even though her father had claimed to now believe it was best to not judge a suitor by the depth of his pockets, he wasn't willing to accept one with shallow pockets either. I dismissed Amelia's talk as mere accusations. My in-laws tried to be present in our lives ever since last week's lunch, and though Amelia's longer, as resentful as she used to be towards them, she's still not convinced that they're genuinely sorry for their past actions. What's up, everybody? Mr. Reddito here. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. So today's story is a family drama. I have 4 updates for you guys. A lot of the commenters in the original post, they're feeling a little fishy about Amelia's parents. They think that they're up to something, and why are they acting so nice all of a sudden? Well, we're going to figure that out because we're about to hop into update number 1, but if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for daily videos and to support the channel a lot. Thank you for subscribing, and here is update number 1. I'm beginning to get very uncomfortable with my in-laws. My father-in-law especially. I was taking stock of things at the bar recently when one of my staff came and asked that I urgently followed him, as there was an incident going on that needed my attention immediately. I went with him and saw my father-in-law harassing one of my workers while shouting at the top of his lungs if he knew who he was. He had already created a scene with my customers looking, and I got there and he asked me to fire that worker for disrespecting him, and he said it like he owned me and the bar. I wasn't going to fire my worker because of him, but I needed to know what would have prompted him to make that demand though, right? I asked what the situation was, and my worker said my father-in-law had taken a couple drinks while refusing to pay for them. My worker was barely done with his work when my father-in-law began abusing him verbally. I had to handle the matter with wisdom, as my father-in-law was clearly at fault. He was taking advantage of his relationship with me to evade payment. I asked my worker to let the matter lie and apologized to my father-in-law, and I told him the drinks were on the house and he had a couple more before he went home that day. I got home that day, but I did not discuss the issue with Amelia. I knew she would see it as proof that her father had not changed but was only in our life for benefits. She could even confront her father, and I wasn't ready for that drama. I'm forced to tell her about it, however, as her father has created another problem at the bar 2 weeks after the first incident. He came to the bar tonight, and he was in the company of his friends. Each person took turns to foot the bill for the drinks, which they had all for particular a day. The rotation continued till it got to the turn of my father-in-law tonight, but he straight up refused to pay. He said it would be on the house. The waiter did not make trouble with him, as he knew him to be my father-in-law, so he just came to confirm with me that the bill was on the house. I felt it was just the bill of my father-in-law alone, so I told him yes. I wasn't glad that Amelia's father was taking undue advantage of me, but I was willing to let it slide for the meantime. It was later on, after he had left and we were taking stock for tonight, that I noticed some imbalance with the records. I was told it was the bill that I had waved off for my father-in-law, and there was no way he could have consumed that many drinks alone, and that was when my workers told me of the arrangements, which he usually had with his friends. It's midnight, and I'm currently typing this while my wife is asleep. I'll tell her all about this in the morning. Update number 2. I told my wife about her father's attitude, and she reacted as expected. She said his actions, were her point about why her parents came back into our life. She was about to pick up the phone to call her father, but I stopped her. In situations like this, it was best to call the attention of the offender if, peradventure, he was ignorantly doing what he did. My talk of ignorance was lame, and I knew it as there was no way he did not know he was making me uncomfortable. I just wanted us to come from a place of peace, so I suggested we go and respectfully talk to her about it. Amelia accepted, even though I knew she could snap at any point if her parents said something unpleasant. We got to her parents' house, and her father did not allow us to state our reason for coming. He noted that he was about to send it to us. We listened as he began talking about how Amelia's younger sister was about to get married to a poor man, and his willingness to support her all the way. He said that one of the major reasons he wanted to see us was to suggest to us that we gave Amelia's younger sister the event center at our bar, to use as the venue for the wedding reception. This was going to be free of charge, of course. I know we had come there for something else, but Amelia's younger sister's wedding and her parents' willingness to be cooperative were more important than just talk about how her father had taken a few drinks from the bar as no charge. I told him right there that we were willing to do it as he had suggested. This was me trying to be supportive in-law. Amelia said nothing. She just smiled, and I knew we would argue by the time we got home. Her parents did not stop there. They suggested once again that we help set up the poor suitor who was coming to get married to their daughter. The meeting ended, and Amelia and I left our home, and she began attacking me the moment we got into the car. She was not happy about me not bringing up the issue about her father's act in the bar, and the fact that I had decided to give my sisters the bar event came to use as a venue for her reception without first discussing it with her. I apologized to her and made her a promise to call out her father when he next puts up such an act. Amelia's still angry, though, and she's trying hard to be happy for her sister. As regards to her parents, they've been involved in every step of the preparation. It's not like they brought their money. They would make suggestions and expect me to cover the cost, I've been doing this behind Amelia's back, knowing full well that she would just kick against it. The wedding is in a few weeks' time, and I can't wait for it to be over. Update number 3. My sister's-in-law, her wedding, has taken place, and though it was a moderate event, I felt financially drained as I had shouldered most of the responsibility without informing my wife. My in-laws have received the praise, what things which I had done. Their daughter's husbands thanked them for everything, especially the financial input. I was not angry about it until my wife and I received an urgent call from them 3 days ago. They asked that we came down to the house as soon as possible. Amelia and I got to the house while panicking. We didn't know what to do or what to expect, but we prepared our minds for the worst as my in-laws refused to tell us what happened over the phone. We got to the house expecting to find everybody in panic, but there was a calm. And Amelia's parents asked us to sit down while we tried to figure out what the heck was going on. It was her dad who began speaking first. He said that both he and his wife were in a serious financial crisis. According to him, they had borrowed a certain amount of money to help finance Amelia's sister's wedding, and the creditors were on their necks. They then noted that they had reached out to us to help them offset the debt as they had started receiving threats. They talked about borrowing money to finance the wedding. Did not seem logical to me, and I had covered most of the cost of the wedding, and the rest, which wasn't much, was done by the bride and the groom, so I did not understand what they were saying. All the same, I reasoned that whatever the amount was, it was probably something that was not much, so I asked them how much they had collected. To the shock, Amelia, and they said it was $1 million. $1 million! The wedding did not even cost up to $100,000, and these guys wanted to scam me with my money. I looked at my in-laws, and I realized that Amelia's accusations have been right all along. They were in our life for the benefit, and I did not make any promise, but I did not let Amelia speak, though, as she would outrightly call them thieves. I asked that they gave us a couple of days to deliberate on the issue. We left the house with them thinking they would get $1 million. Amelia and I began talking right from the car, and I told her that her parents were lying. She asked how I was so sure, and that was when I disclosed to her how I had funded the wedding of her sister beyond what she knew. Amelia was angry at me, and she kept her distance for me for days while her parents disturbed me for positive replies to their request. I made up with Amelia after making her see I was only trying to help her with her younger sister. She noted my parents would get no dime. She did not need to say it. My mind was already made up as I felt bad about her parents. We would both visit her parents tomorrow and let them know that we can't help them as it is not convenient time for us. Update number 4. I've kicked my in-laws out of my life and their daughter is in support of it. We went to inform them that we were not going to help them and they were disappointed. They were too desperate to take no for an answer. They pleaded and asked that we supported them with whatever we could as no amount was too small. Amelia and I had already decided to stand our ground and not help out, so we resisted their importunity. They finally got frustrated and asked what use we were to them if we could not lend them a hand when they needed it. Amelia lashed out at her parents, and I did not hold her back. She told them to their faces that if the decision were up to her, they would never have been welcomed back into our lives, as she knew that they were only coming for what they could gain. We started as a plea, soon turned into an argument between Amelia and her parents. I did not let it linger, though. I took her and we both left the house while her parents cursed. My father-in-law came by the bar 2 days later, and he had his usual company of friends. They started their drinking session, and when it got to the payment part, it turned out my father-in-law was the one to make the payment that day. My workers had been used to me waving off my father-in-law's bills, and so when he said it was on the house, they just let him be. I had been observing them, and I confirmed from my worker who said my father-in-law did not pay. I immediately asked him to get to that security along with him and demand my father-in-law makes the payment. So, the security began harassing him in front of his friends, and he demanded to see their boss, which was me. I came to the scene and he felt it was going to be business as usual. This was just 2 days after he said I was useless to him, and I told him he was going to be detained by the guards while I called the police on him if he did not make the payment. Well, he made the payment and I had him thrown out of the building. I called Amelia and told her what just happened and she was happy. She even noted that it would have been a lot better if I just called the cops on her father. Her parents are currently not happy with us, but we don't care. We have obtained a restraining order against them. Well guys, I'll be honest with you about this story. The comment section was not happy. They were saying, hey, why did it take OP all of these updates, the original post and stuff, just to stand up to his in-laws? I mean, his significant other, his wife, that was her parents, and she was way over their crap from the beginning of the story, but yet OP just kept allowing himself to be walked all over, especially by his significant other's father, who didn't want to pay $1 from the alcoholic bills that he was consuming. Let me know what you guys think about this story. Drop your opinions in the comment section. Do you agree with the commenters from the updates that are saying, you know what, OP, you kind of brought this on yourself. I mean, you were nothing more than a floor mat. So drop your comments down below. My name's Mr. Reddito. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. And just remember, it's cool to be kind. See ya.